All right. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, and I am Brian Forbes. This is the Black Factor. And tonight, y'all, man, I'm about to drop some bombs on them tonight. I got some stuff, y'all, to talk about that's going to be very unusual. I got some real strange stuff to talk about tonight. I think you're going to enjoy this because I'm not one for gossip. Y'all know that. But tonight, we're going to talk about the royal family, but not the way you think we're going to talk about it. I found out a lot of interesting stuff today, and I want to talk about that as it pertains to history, because you know that's what we do at the Black Factor. We talk about history and the way it ties into our lives today. And of course, with this recent interview with Oprah, things have gone off the rails. So we're going to talk about why it's off the rails and a couple other little interesting things that many of you probably didn't know. But we're going to get into that. So I want everybody to sit tight. Let's get this party started. All right, so before I get going, y'all know I got to do my usual stuff. Let me start by welcoming my oh-so-smooth radio family that are listening in on simulcast, along with my usual crowd here at the Black Factor, my Black Factor family. Don't forget to check it out on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to hit the join, follow, subscribe, like, share, and all of them buttons that make me get my show out even more. Y'all help me out. Let people know what we're doing over here so we can expand this thing and really turn it into something. I need y'all's help. Y'all make me do what I do anyway. This is the reason why I do this. I do it because of you, not because of me. I do it because of you. I enjoy this. I ain't gonna lie. Oh So Smooth Radio simulcast, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever want to listen in on Wednesdays at 7, you can always download the Oh So Smooth Radio app. And I'm telling you, the DJs that are on there during the week, man, are off the chain. Or week and weekend, we got a host of DJs that, man, they throw down on Oh So Smooth Radio. You want to hear some real good music, man, I promise you. Get the Oh So Smooth app at your Play Store or at, Play Store and in Apple iTunes. All right. We have not forgotten, ladies and gentlemen, it is Women's Month. So, of course, we're going to talk about another woman. And this time, y'all, we're going to talk about a black woman that is not connected. Matter of fact, they connected to her in the royal family. Before we go there, today, apparently they have they have selected the 5th juror in the George Floyd case. So this thing is moving forward actually pretty quickly, I think. I think it's going to take them another 2 weeks to finish selecting jurors for the case, but I think it's going to move along nicely. And of course, as nice as it could be for what happened, for what we're talking about. And also, let me not forget to point out that old Greg Abbott, once again, 0 days without being a national embarrassment. Here we go again. So apparently he is now about to attempt to make another diversion from his colossal screw-ups. And he is now he's ordered the Attorney General of Texas to sue Travis County, that's Austin, for not lifting the mask ban that he has mandated that it get lifted. And now he's mad because they're not following his instructions, and I guess he feeling some kind of way he done got in his feelings, so now he's suing a county for not following his rules and orders. The ridiculousness of it all. What we gonna do, y'all? Us Texans, we gotta stick together and get rid of people like him. Election is coming, baby. Get ready for that. All right. So, on Harry and Meghan Markle, or Meghan Markle and Harry, or whatever they call, anyway, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, right? So, I've avoided this topic only because I don't do gossip and I wasn't really interested in the stuff that I guess what was going on. But then I've never been one to really kind of keep up with the royals. But now I did. I remember when Princess Diana and Prince Charles got married. I watched that wedding. That was back in the 70s, I think, in the late 70s. I watched that wedding, sat up in the middle of the night and watched it. It was pretty good, actually. And then I think I did. As a matter of fact, I did watch Meghan and Harry do their thing. But there's some interesting tidbits that have come up in light of them stepping away from the royal family, and in her interview that came up with Oprah the other day. Now, we're not going to talk about the stuff everybody else talking about with Oprah. I got some better stuff to talk about. Now, I want to first say this because there are several issues that she brought up in regard to their existence within the royal family, where, you know, she didn't have any control over anything. They took her cell phone. She couldn't talk to anybody. She couldn't tweet. She couldn't do any of those type of things. And everything that she said publicly had to be chewed up and spit out and looked at before anything got said until now. So she got on there with Oprah and she dropped a few bombshells. And I personally think they handled the whole situation with kid gloves. I think they were kind of delicate with it. So, which is cool because they don't want to embarrass the family too bad. But the fact is, if these things that she's saying are true, well, here's the thing, y'all. Now, you could try and figure out, because the first thing that comes to mind is that here's a black woman in a white monarchy. That was my initial reaction. What did she expect? Now, don't get it twisted. I still have a kind of a what did she expect type attitude. But on the other hand, when I've done this homework, there are other things now that don't make sense. And you really have to start asking yourself, are we talking about racism or are we talking about economics and greed? Now, I'm going to get to why. But here's the thing. She claims that there are and have been racist overtones, or she's making, saying that they potentially racist. Now, that could be very devastating to this monarchy. One, because there are a large population of British people, who were and have been a part of that society since they began. They're not some type of, they just popped up somewhere one day. No, they've always been a part of their society. And in fact, there are things that go on in Europe where blacks are concerned that the rest of the world really is not aware of. In fact, it took one of my kids to tell me, man, you should go over there and, check things out. They were telling me about the Black Madonna and all these different things that are over there that depict black people throughout their history in Europe. Well, anyway, if they are held to account in regard to so-called racism in that monarchy, then it leans heavily toward the division of or putting black people, and don't get it twisted, they are racist. There are some racist people over there, but it lends more toward them having to deal with the populace of people who still support that monarchy, which is not even really a thing anymore, politically speaking. They don't have any power, but they just represent something. But the fact is, they still are used in a form of publicity, if you will. And something like this could bring them down, literally. But the thing is, you still have British colonies that exist. You still have British occupied places around the world. You have to remember that Britain conquered a great portion of the globe. They went around the world colonizing. They colonized here. And I'm going to get to that later on too. But there are actually countries in Africa that are still obligated to pay exuberant amounts of money, tax, to the British government and monarchy. The Queen literally owns so much land and property and different things like that, that the people who occupy those lands have to continue to pay for those things. they get money from a lot of different areas, but I think one of her largest investments is actually real estate. Her holdings are bananas. Now, let's not forget this when we talk about racism and the monarchy, or Britain itself, or Europeans. Let's not forget that slavery in America began under their watch. They're the ones who colonized this continent, right? So when you think about that, you have to ask yourself, what would make anybody be shocked that these people would be racist? I mean, it only makes sense. What did Meghan Markle think was going to happen when she had to deal with not just her husband, who is obviously not racist, but those around him who may have racist ideas? And some of that racism is not as apparent to many of the people who practice it as would be. You think about people here in America who don't realize that they are actually perpetuating racism when they don't think that they are, because of the things that they say, because they've never had to walk in the shoes of a black person. So with that, again, these are the same people who basically invented the game of slavery that we are familiar with in America. Now, let's also remember that slavery has been a thing around the globe for many, 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 many centuries. None of this is new. It goes all the way back, as far as recorded history is concerned, to the Roman Empire, to y'all, I'm slipping my mind right now. Anyway, it goes way, 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 way back. So it's not like they invented slavery. They're operating off of what has been a common thing throughout the history of the planet. Now, and that's not to give them a pass now. Don't get that twisted. Now, but let's also remember that this family who colonized this monarchy that has colonized large portions of the globe, this is the family that Meghan Markle, a black, and I say black, although she is of mixed race, let's keep it 100. We already know how the game go. If she is got a little bit of black in her, we call her what? Black. So that just is what it is. And bottom line. So now they have a black woman tied up in the monarchy. So then it makes you wonder, and I always thought about this after they got married. I always wondered to myself, are they going to trip about her? Have they given Harry a bunch of, crap about her being in the game? Have they, really gone at him about her or any of that? Just make me wonder. So I thought about it, but then again, like I said, I'm not a big fan of this king and queen and the royals and the monarchy and all that kind of stuff. I've never been a big fan of that stuff. So I just I didn't process it like that. I just, it's water off my back. It's kind of like the way we look at a lot of stuff historically. But I learned today that maybe I should have been paying a little closer attention. Now, what I found out was, as if this wasn't obvious, the colonies in America were established in order to make money for the royal families and some of the wealthier colonists. So in other words, the whole idea of expanding into the Americas was about finding new ways to enrich the queen, the king at the time. And they came over looking for gold, and they found not only gold, a few other resources that would work in their favor. Now, a small class of wealthy colonists were looking to increase their profit margin. So they got rid of indentured servitude and began the import of black bodies for profit. Chattel slavery, right? Now, they tried to enslave the Native Americans, but they seen they wasn't going. Plus, the Native Americans knew their way around this continent and this country because they lived here. They grew up here. So now you got a stranger coming in. That's like somebody coming into your house and saying, oh, look at this nice house. I'm going to claim this as mine. I'm taking this. But then I live here. And guess what? I know where all the nooks and crannies and the guns are hid. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to get took out before you even get to move in. So they couldn't do that with the indigenous people. So they had to go and find somebody else that didn't know the lay of the land and bring them into the game to work their land. They knew that having the Native Americans, they could be overthrown and there would be revolts and they wouldn't survive it. Now, they already didn't know how to survive when they came here. The Indians had to show them that. I keep saying Indians. I'm sorry. I hate using that word. The indigenous human beings of this continent, they were able to do what they needed to do, and they taught them how to survive. Now, let's also remember that they were susceptible, and I'm talking about the colonizers, to diseases like malaria and things of that nature. But now, this is where things start to get strange. There is, and this is why I'm stuck on trying to understand, and it's not to say that they can't be racist based on what I'm about to tell you, but this is where I get a little bit stuck at, because it trips me out to know that this young lady right here. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this picture. That is, she was born Sophia Charlotte, and she is better known as Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg and Strelitz, which is, she's German born. Now, she was born in 1744 on May 19th. Who knows what that day is? Anybody? Anybody? We're going to get to that. Hold tight. So, Queen Charlotte, as it turns out, I want to show you one more picture of her right quick. Look at those features. Look at those features. Yep. What does she look like to you? All right. So, Queen Charlotte, as she became known as, married King George III. And his reign was from 1738 to 1820. Now, she is a direct descendant of Margarita de Castro Sousa. And that is from the black branch of a Portuguese royal house. Dun, dun. Wait a minute. Hold on. I always do that. I shouldn't do that because I got it. Yeah. Okay. Now, it is believed, and it ain't believed, they know the truth. She is Britain's first black queen. And her descendants, including Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II, who is currently the queen, have African ancestry. Yeah. Ain't that something? So, I'm going to stop right here and ask you all a question. Who watched the series Bridgerton? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody know about Bridgerton? Well, let me tell you. I have to go back and watch Bridgerton again now. Why? Because I just learned so much stuff, and I did not realize that what was on Bridgerton is what we're talking about tonight. This is actual history. I had no idea. It just goes to show you how you don't know everything. I didn't know everything. I promise I didn't know this. Well, if you watch Bridgerton, the black lady who was the queen, that was Queen Charlotte. And you, of course, saw a whole host of people of color all through that show, which now you realize is much more representative of the way things were during that time. Because I'm not going to lie, I sat up there and I was trying to figure out why they were doing the show that way, and was it actually a real depiction of the way things were during that time. Now I know for sure that they were. My mind is blown, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it threw me, but it started. Now it made so many other things make sense. Now, when she married King George III, she became the Queen of Britain and Ireland. And this was in 1761. Now I'm going to bring up another topic that's going to get y'all, right? When she married him, she was 17 years old and he was 23. Now, by today's standards, they'd be trying to put charges on him. Am I right or wrong? He would be every pervert. He would be every kind of freak in the world if he went and scooped up a 17-year-old, married her, and his ass was 23. Y'all already know how that will go. But it just goes to show you how things change, right? Now, the funny thing was they got married literally 6 hours after she arrived in England and he met her. They married immediately. 6 hours after he laid eyes on her for the first time, they got married. That's insane. Talk about a shotgun wedding. But I guess she wasn't pregnant. He just met her, right? Now, keep in mind that King George III is who we historically affectionately know as the Mad King. This is real history, y'all. Now, if you remember, for example, in the show Bridgerton, there were a few scenes where the Queen, Charlotte, had to deal with her husband, and he was tripping real hard because he had mental illness. He was struggling. And in fact, that's why he got the name the Mad King, because he was doing things that were out of his, outside of his normal, or what was normal behavior. So she basically was running things. Queen Charlotte. All right. Now, her father, well, not her father, but one of her descendants, King Alfonso III, up until the 1100s, there was an Arab and African occupation of Portugal. And he found his wife there, and this is where her bloodline comes in, who was a Moor. So there is speculation that she may or may not have been a Moor, but then you have to remember that the term Moor is what people used to describe people of African or Arab descent during that time. So anyway, he married her. She was a Moor, and Charlotte is a direct descendant of that union. Now, I kind of got a problem with when we start talking about it. Really annoys me when we talk about the continent of Africa, and people like to divide Africa, the continent, as though the Arabs are not African. It's still Africa. It's still Africa, y'all. And as a matter of fact, for those who don't know, when you look at maps, you have to be very careful because maps lie, and they'll have you believing that Africa is not that big a continent. Africa is enormous in comparison, but they always make it look smaller on the maps, which is part of the whole psychological play that comes with anything dealing with black folks. They always want to downplay and make sure that, you don't realize the scope and size and greatness of who you are and where you come from. So, according to the Washington Post, a guy named Valdez, he said that the Portuguese Alphonse III's mistress, or Vanna, was a black Moor. Now, they saying, you have some people who say she was a mistress and others that say she was a wife. He pointed to Charlotte's physician, who at the time was in the palace with her, using the outdated and offensive term mulatto to describe her appearance. He went on to say, A prime minister depicted her in a racist manner by describing stereotypical features, writing, "Her nose is too wide and her lips too thick. There's no such thing as too anything." That's black folks, baby. Love us, because that's what we are. Well, history most certainly repeats itself. And just in case, I'm going to bring this back up. Y'all know I mentioned May 19th. Well, guess what May 19th was? May 19th is Meghan and Harry's anniversary date. Why? Because they deliberately got married on Queen Charlotte's birthday. That is not a coincidence. They did that on purpose. I think that, and this is where things start to tie together, and you kind of start to question and ask, okay, so wait a minute. Now, that's a direct embrace of the Black Queen by the next, or should I say, the Duchess of Sussex, because they're trying as hard as they can not to bestow titles upon her or any of her children. In fact, I think they said they weren't going to give her children any titles, which is smacks of the racism that we are talking about right now. Now, when Harry and Meghan got married, they were then named the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Yet another coincidence. Dun dun. Oh, wait, let me do it again. I keep doing it. There. Okay. Well, Queen Charlotte, her first son was the very first Duke of Sussex. Imagine that. And isn't it interesting how Meghan and Harry are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex now? See how representative it is? There's so much stuff involved. It's just, when you start digging into this stuff, it just gets weirder and weirder. So then you start asking yourself, when you think about this, that means that they actually recognize their lineage and their heritage. So can they really be racist when they're recognizing who they are? And if you think about this, if you listen to the media that's been on over the last couple of days, the Queen been real tight-lipped about it. She hadn't had a whole lot to say. And statements that she made basically was, we'll deal with it, And I think that because the Queen, as old as she is, she's 94, I think, she knows her history, but we gonna get further into that too. All right. Now, here's another interesting fun fact. When the United States, on July 4th of 1776, signed the Declaration of Independence, guess who they sent it to? King George III. But the time when they did send it, they only had two names on there. One of them was John Hancock. I can't remember who the other one was. But the only reason they had two signatures on it was because they didn't want the British to find out who was being treasonous. Because you have to remember that the Declaration of Independence, that's not just a term, it actually means something. They declared that they are now independent and no longer under British rule. And they sent that to King George III. They didn't want nobody to know who the treasonous ones were, so there was only two signatures on there. And that was in July. So by August, King George III had sent troops to the colonies to begin the Revolutionary War. That's how the Revolutionary War started. All right? Now let's not forget, King George is the husband to Queen Charlotte, black woman. Now, the English colonized Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, just for starters. And they settled in the southern colonies because there were great farmland and opportunity had cash crops, cotton, tobacco, sugar. It was all about money. It was about selling this stuff to England in order to get paid. Now, here's what I got to ask. Here's a question I got. When you think about the history that we've been taught in our schools, when we sit there and we say, oh man, you know, they taught us about the Declaration of Independence. They taught us about the liberty and freedom of America. Here go what I want to know. Why didn't they mention that King George III's wife was a sister? They kept that out, didn't they? Yep, they kept that one a secret. And I think that they were trying as hard as they could to sidestep those facts. And again, this is like the fly on the wall. This is like the elephant in the room. And I think a lot of people just didn't want to deal with it, and they still don't want to deal with it. But guess what? Charlotte's children, by the way, Charlotte and King George III had 15 children. 15. 13 of them lived to be adults. They lost 2 at young ages. But here's the fact. Her children are connected to every, not some, every royal family from Spain to Scandinavia. 2 of her sons ruled England. King George IV and King William IV, Henry Hanover. Her 4th son, now this part right here bothers me. We're gonna get to this. Her 4th son, Edward, Duke of Kent, married Maria Louisa of Saxe-Coburg. Now, why is that a thing? That's a thing because her son married the sister of the notorious and diabolical King Leopold. Now, I don't know how much you know about King Leopold, but let me tell you, that cat right there, he make Hitler look like he in preschool. Leopold was a beast, man. But this is yet another one of those people that they sweep under the rug historically because they don't want you to know the atrocities committed by a cat like this. Now, and Leopold was from the Belgians, by the way. He was a Belgian leader. They something else over there. Oh well. Anyway, Edward and Victoria had 1 child, Alexandria Victoria. When her uncle King William IV died, childless, Alexandria, the granddaughter of Queen Charlotte, became Queen Victoria. See how close we getting to where we are now? So, Queen Victoria took over the game. Now, here's something, another quite disturbing thing that came up. A West African Yoruba girl, because we're going to get back to Queen Victoria in a minute. A West African Yoruba girl, or should I say African princess, was captured by the king of Dahomey in 1848 during a slave hunt in which her parents were murdered. Now, she was born into a royal West African dynasty. In 1850, at the age of 8, she was taken by a ship captain by the name of Frederick E. Forbes, same last name as me, of the Royal Navy, while he was visiting Dahomey as an emissary of the British government. Now, what he did was he convinced the king, King Gizo of Dahomey, to give Sarah to Queen Victoria. He convinced him to give her to the queen and said that she would be a gift from the king of the blacks to the queen of the whites. What kind of nonsense is that? Anyway, I want to talk about King Leopold just a little bit more before we move forward. I want to talk about him because he deserves for the world to know what a diabolical individual he was. Now, this photo here. Oh, wait a minute. Let me drop that one in there. Okay, that's a photo with Sarah Forbes and Queen Victoria. Now, King Leopold of Belgium, who was born April 9th of 1835. He was the second king of the Belgians from 1865 to 1909 and was the absolute ruler of the Congo, or should I say the Free State of the Congo, from 1885 to 1908. Now, he died in 1909, but the Belgians made him get out of the Congo. He was mad that he had such a small kingdom, so he had something to prove. So he went into Africa. Well, he didn't just go there. In fact, he never actually traveled to the continent of Africa. He did everything from where he was. But I always wondered, when I think about this story, was he pissed off at black people because his sister married into a family with black lineage? It just makes you wonder. Just makes you wonder. Was he mad about that black blood in the family now? Who knows? Or was it just pure greed? He sent a guy by the name of Henry Morton Stanley. Now, here's why this name right here is important. Y'all ever watch them cartoons where there's always a scientist named Stanley and he's traveling the world, and them old movies from back in the day, 60s, 40s, 50s movies, and they always had a guy named Stanley and he was always an explorer. Well, this was, I guess, the remembrance of this guy. Henry Stanley Morton. He went on a 5-year journey, setting up trading posts and building roads along the waterways of the Congo. Now, he would get and find these chiefs and people who ran certain areas, and he had them sign these agreements and treaties that would align him that would align them with King Leopold. Now, if any of them didn't want to uphold them, they would use the laws of Belgium to enforce these treaties. Now, the thing that was messed up about it is that he went after other countries, Leopold did, and in fact, even the United States, and he made all of them recognize him as the sole owner of this property in Africa. Huge, huge plot of land. So now he's telling them, this is mine, I own it, period. I don't care who there, this belongs to me now. It's called the Congo Free State. And it was recognized as his own personal property, backed by other monarchies and the United States government, other governments. So he was able to con them into saying, hey, this is mine, I can do what I want with it, which meant he could also do what he wanted with the people of that land. And again, like I said earlier, he was only rivaled by Hitler, and he makes Hitler look like child's play. Hitler didn't even really come close. The murder and mayhem of this cat was off the chain. His greed was for rubber and ivory. So you wonder about, all the animals that started getting killed off and murdered for profit. That's part of it. We already know that the continent of Africa has been pillaged for its resources forever by everybody except the Africans. And everybody likes to pretend like Africa is such a poor country. Africa is not a poor country. In fact, Africa has everything everybody else wants. The problem is that the people there allow everybody else to come in and just take and take and take. Now it's China, I believe, that's in there doing their thing. Got to remember, world's biggest and Most valuable, not that they're valuable at all, diamonds come out of Africa. Gold comes out of Africa. And for those of you who don't know, the world's richest man to date in history, Mansa Musa, had more gold than anybody ever in the history of this globe, not the United States. All that people talking about, oh, the richest man in the world. Ain't nobody still ain't touching Mansa Musa. He had paper, baby, a lot of it. Africa's got oil. Matter of fact, did y'all know that the very glass that you look through on your cell phones is produced from a place in Africa and nowhere else in the world? It's got to be, that's where it comes from. And in fact, they still are using some of the same labor practices in order to obtain even that. There's still a lot of thievery going on and people benefiting and profiting off of black life. That's a thing. It's been a thing throughout history. It's not new. And I don't know what to tell you. But the continent of Africa covers 20% of the Earth's total land area, 11.7 million miles, followed only by Asia. In fact, you can fit the United States, China, and several other countries inside of the continent of Africa. That's how big it really is. They don't give you the right depiction on a map. Anyway, he created a forced labor system in the Congo. Basically, slavery is what it amounted to. The rule, the way he did things was catastrophic to the Congolese people. He enforced rubber quotas. In other words, if you didn't get enough rubber in a day, you were punished. Now he used, and when I say punished, they cut off hands, they cut off feet, and other extremities. Now he enforced these rules with a little small army, a private army of his own called Force Publique, which basically was a army of black folks. They wasn't even white soldiers. Now they had white leaders and they were to answer to them, but the army itself was other black folks. So he used black folks to kill other black folks to profit his white crown. Isn't that amazing? No, it's not. Now, what they would do is if the person didn't make their quota, they would take hostages. They would they would literally like take your kids. And if you didn't bring in a certain amount of rubber, well, you might not get to see your kid again. They would cut your kid's hand off. I saw a picture of a man today literally sitting on his porch staring at the hand of his 5-year-old daughter that had been cut off because he didn't make his quota. They would kill the families of rebels. Anybody who would go against them, they would just go get your family and kill them. They would whip, like chattel slavery, people, and they would rape Congolese people. Now, you notice I didn't say Congolese women. They would rape Congolese people. Now, the army would dismember slaves that didn't meet quotas. Now, when I say dismember, I mean literally they would get their head, feet, arms cut off. Now, a little funny, you know, we had a show a while back where I talked about meritorious manumission. Well, they had a sort of a thing like that almost in this. The more dismembered limbs that they brought to their commanding officers, the faster they could get out of the military. So in other words, if they brought more cut off hands, they get a quicker discharge because they didn't want to be there either, obviously. Anyway, we know that the European powers have decimated areas of the African continent still to this day. They basically had control over the genocide that they committed, but they actually have said that what Leopold did is far worse, and what they did pales in comparison. He, in fact, devastated that continent, well, that area or that part of the continent single-handedly. In the 23 years Leopold II ruled over the Congo, he massacred 10 million Africans by cutting off their hands and genitals or by flogging them to death. Now, we talking about 10 million that died. We're not even talking about the ones he maimed. 10 million dead, all at his behest. He would starve them and force them into labor by holding their children hostage for ransom, and he would burn villages. Now, takes me back to Queen Charlotte. Every royal house in Europe, every, descends from her. She literally gave birth to kings and queens. Now, here's the good part. Y'all know who Queen Elizabeth II is, the lady, old lady we see on TV with the husband and look like he's from The Walking Dead. Well, the thing is this. Queen Victoria, who is the granddaughter of Queen Charlotte, is Queen Elizabeth's great-grandmother. So what am I saying? I'm saying that Queen Elizabeth got some black in her. That's what I'm saying. Which explains her not so quick reaction and the way she feels or is depicting her response to what has taken place where Harry and Meghan are concerned with this interview. Now, Queen Victoria, she married her first cousin. And, you know, I think they was trying to keep it in the family. But Queen Victoria was in power from June of 1837 until her death in 1901. Now, y'all know Queen Elizabeth II is still in power today, if you want to call it that. But I just wanted to tie all that together for y'all. So see, here's the thing. We know that Queen Elizabeth knows her legacy or her lineage. So it makes you wonder really where her head is in regard to the supposed racism that has taken place or is taking place with Meghan Markle. I think the majority of the racist behaviors are coming from people in her peripheral, not her. I think it's coming from the media and other individuals in the family. But then the other side of that coin could be, is she upset because maybe they wanted to get the black blood out and this is doing nothing but bringing more in when Harry married Meghan? The world may never know. I'll be honest with you. I don't even have an opinion at this point. The whole thing trips me out. I ain't gonna even lie. I'm like, you know, this is ridiculous. It's just insane, the stuff that I'm seeing. So, and just so y'all know, let me put this up right quick. This is a picture of that Leopold fellow. He was a real devil. Horrible dude. Let's see. And this is another one. This is him. Now you see him standing there next to these guys. They're literally holding somebody else's hands. Now that gives new meaning to holding hands. That ain't the kind of holding hands I want to be doing with nobody. But just to show you. Okay. Now, more fun facts right quick so we can close it out. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not know this. Charlotte, North Carolina is known as the Queen City. And I've heard that before, and it never registered. Well, guess why? Because it's named after Queen Charlotte. Sister girl had it going on. That's that black girl magic right there. Y'all know it's Women's Month. Did I say that at the top of the show? I said that at the top of the show. It's Women's Month. You know I'm going to cover. Who I'm going to cover? Where we at? We the Black Factor. Black Factor means we're going to cover black women. So that's what it is. Queen Charlotte. Queen City. Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, she became queen in 1761, and the city was named for her in 1769 when it was actually established. Now, I'm curious about another thing. See, these little things pop up in my head as I'm going along. Did the people who named Charlotte know? They had to know. But we know it wasn't black folks that created Charlotte, North Carolina, in a slave state. But did they know that she was black? I bet you if they had known that, I bet you I wonder was she passing or what was they doing? What was the real story? Because you know when you're in an environment and things are going on, you kind of act like, you know, whatever the current thing is, that's what the way history goes. And I bet you $1 to a donut, the people who named it the Queen City, Charlotte, did not know that woman was black. I guarantee it. I guarantee you they didn't know. There are 2 counties, Mecklenburg, which is where she's from, over in Europe, in Germany, but Mecklenburg, there are 2 counties, one in North Carolina and one in Virginia. They had mad props for her. They had mad props. Meghan Markle mentioned that someone in the palace had concerns over what the baby's skin tone would be when it's born. Now, I just wonder, was they thinking that there's a possibility that black could come up from their side and her side and make a dark baby? Is that why they was worried about it? Who does that? They worried about that new black blood? Make you wonder, don't it? Now, I also found out, I didn't know this, there is a dish. No, let me put it like this. There's a lot of stuff named after Queen Charlotte. I had no idea. But I found out today that she actually has a dish, a cake or whatever you want to call it. It is called Charlotte Russe. So if you're dealing anything in confections or know anything about baking and all that kind of stuff, just know that Charlotte Russe that you hear about is named after her. This was a dish created for her in her time and during her reign. And it obviously has remained popular, and it's something that people take part in on the regular. They also have, it looks like a little cupcake with cream on top and cherry. So that's part of it too. And I found out there's a lot more things that are named after. Look, y'all, I learned an awful lot today that I had no real idea about. But this brings me, coming to the close of this show, Meghan Markle has mentioned the potential for mental illness. And I use that term. I mean, you know, she's feeling some kind of way. She had postpartum. It went ignored. She had thoughts of suicide. They went ignored. On next Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to want to tune into this show specifically because I'm going to have Dr. Bethea on, and she is a clinical professor and therapist, and she deals with women's issues in regard to depression, abuse, and so on. And because it's Women's Month, we're going to cover that thoroughly. And she will be on, and man, I can't wait for that show. That's going to be a real good one. But I noticed that the similarities between Meghan Markle and Princess Diana are spot on, which then again leads me to wonder, are we talking about Are we talking about racism, or are we just talking about an attitude or a behavior that is just part of being a royal, being a monarch? I don't know. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm not even gonna take sides. I'm not about to try and pigeonhole anything or anybody in this way, because I just don't know. Because there are too many things that lead me in too many different directions in regard to the possibilities. Because I ain't gonna lie, if you do the homework, none of it makes sense. It's just like you really have to try and figure out why one thing is one way and why something else is another. I'm at a loss. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. So I suggest that people who have a problem with understanding, especially for white folks, racism, y'all need to check out my girl Jane Austen. Everybody knows about her. That's the lady who did the brown-eyed, blue-eyed test, and it works. So, ladies and gentlemen, all I'm going to say is I want to first thank everybody for coming in tonight. I appreciate y'all. I love you very much. My man Maurice Thomas even came and hung out with me today. My man, my main man. We got Elaine Hill, Gina Love, Phyllis is in the building. Who else we got? We got Phyllis Harris. We got, hey Poppy. We got Rena Craft. We got WB Reese is in the building. Oh yeah, we got my girl Riri. Valencia's in the building. Yeah. Y'all came on down and hung out with a brother. Martha Williams, my cousin Dana Brock is in the house. We got a whole bunch of folks. I'm glad y'all came out and hung out with me. If I missed your name, charge it to my head and not to my heart, baby, because you know how we do. Val Wells, always in the building. That's my homegirl right there. Val, you know what? I'm going to have you on the show one day. You better get yourself together and get ready, girl, because you're coming up on here, because we're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and hanging out with me. Don't forget to share this show. Hit the like, hit the love, hit the live, hit the subscribe, hit the join, hit the all of that. Hit it. If it's on there, hit it. Oh So Smooth family, I appreciate you for coming and kicking it with me tonight on this live simulcast. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to catch the show and you don't got time to watch, you can always download the Oh So Smooth app from your Play Store, your iTunes, and listen in while we kick it. Because that's a hell of an app. And let me tell you, the DJs, off the chain, y'all. They be getting it in every day, y'all. Matter of fact, my man Candyman come on right after me tonight, y'all. Y'all better check my man Candyman out. He have a real good show. He got a lot of good music, great stuff happening. So with all of that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank y'all again. I'm gonna keep thanking you. You just, if you can't handle the thanks, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, but you know, I gotta thank y'all. I love you. Thank you. It's my time. I'm going to see y'all on Friday, 7 o'clock sharp, and we're going to do this again. Ladies and gentlemen, love, peace, and chicken grease, because we gone.